Hello everyone, Venris here, and today we will be talking about Omens of Destruction, the new DLC for Total War Warhammer 3 that was just released a week ago, and this will be the review of the DLC. In this video I will be talking about the things that I like, the things I didn't like, what do I think about the free content, the paid content, and also what SFO patrons are thinking about the DLC also. Let's hop in and let's start with the favorite faction of mine, so Khorne.
These skulls are mine!
Skulltaker is the first paid Khorne legendary lord that is focused around skulls, really. So, overall, about this lord, there's a lot to talk about. There was also a lot of debate about him overall, but let's start with the basics. So his campaign effects are quite simple. He got a new mechanic that is called the Clock of Skulls, and he just has some bonuses to Demons Reforging and Upkeep. The Demons Reforging is just the Dead Rise Again, but for the demons, so your units have a chance to not die when the campaign, when the battle ends, if you lost those units. If this is a good addition or not, it's yet to be said, being honest, because it's very early with this change, and I don't know if I like it for now, let's say that way. But as for the Skulltaker mechanic itself, he has a Clock of Skulls, as I said, and similar to what you have with after the rework of the Dwarfs Book of Grudges, all legendary lords, or not legendary, normal lords enemies has skull meter above their heads, and you collect those skulls so you can get the bonuses, and you have a small nice tree that you get bonuses. Yeah, so for example, here you have army abilities increase, that the Skulltaker is getting more experience, your movement is higher after defeating a lord, and so on and so on and so on. They are cool, but there are also some really overpowered stuff here, like going absolutely crazy. So for example, you can make that the Demons Reforged thing is higher to the point that it's always replenishing. Means that as long as you win the battle having demons in your army, you're just getting all units back. Yeah. So you're undefeatable. It's like the Changeling 2.0, even better. But overall, as a mechanic, Clock of Skulls is a very nice mechanic, which is important and not something that is often in CA DLCs, is that you need to get to the good stuff. Yeah, so you need to progress yourself through the DLC, through the content, through the mechanic to get the best stuff, which I really, really like. I enjoy it. Being said, the Skulltaker is beginning his campaign in Lustria. As you can see, I'm turn 47, and until the moment I find out the ultimate cheese with a Khorne right now, I was not really able to do much. But ultimate cheese is a thing that is really linked with patch 6.0. I will be telling more there, but the thing is that right now the Blood Hosts armies, so those armies that you get from raising the enemy settlements, are now free. And you can just spam them indefinitely, have tons of armies, have 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 armies, really, so until your PC melts, and that's really it. As for the units itself, let's go to the province where we have all the units. So we have several new units, and those are very one-dimensional, I would say. We have only one unit that is different, that those are Slaughter Brute, and also a unit of Blood Beasts of Khorne. All the rest of the units are just infantry, like Cornagors, the Warmongers, if I find them. So those units are very so Wrathmongers, sorry. They are very simple units. They are not filling any gaps in the roster. They are just following the line of Khorne, and I think it's fine. I think overall it's fine, because Khorne overall is one-dimensional in lore, so I think it's fine. Yes, so roster, it's very safe. Skulltaker mechanics are cool. it's overpowered, really needs a lot of tweaking right now, but it's cool. As for the Khorne rework itself, because Khorne also got a rework, Zinch is still waiting for proper rework, but we have changes to mostly technology tree, the skull throne, and also some small stuff to the manifestation. The manifestations are actually useful here for Khorne, at least, because like Nurgle manifestations and Zinch manifestations, I still think are one of the worst mechanics in the game. But in terms of technology, they were just separated into two tabs, let's call them, and they are focusing on the different stuff. They require amount of 1 battles to be unlocked, which is very cool. And armaments is just simple groups of units that gets bonuses, which is fine. The technology is more or less the same power level as it was before, but the change is that it's way more compact. As for the Skull Throne mechanic, it's right now using the Tehana Wind mechanic from the Warhammer 2 DLC, and the Prophet and the Warlock, and here's like a pyramid. When you unlock stuff, they have a duration, so this is like a set of rights, being honest. They just use skulls. Their costs are way too low. Some of them are quite weak, but mostly part is that the costs are way too low, which is a good addition. Yet again, it's a good addition. Khorne overall as a faction was very good in vanilla. I didn't thought that they need any changes, but it's good that it had the changes, and I would rank this DLC as a good. I like the Khorne changes, even if they are very overpowered.
These two kids think they could steal my glory!
Gorbat Ironclaw is the second legendary lord that you get in this DLC, and it's for the Greenskins. I would say that overall was the biggest surprise for me that the Greenskins are getting another DLC, and I will tell why in a minute, yeah? So his faction effects are quite simple, even simpler than the Skull Takers, so he got the access to the plans. So imagine your Greenskins campaign. You're playing Grimgor again, but it's not Grimgor because he's starting the Black Rug, like Grimgor was starting Warhammer 2, so he's not starting here anymore. The Grimgor is far top north, next to the Darklands, but the Gorbat is starting here. Okay, let's stop on this. And everything is as it was for the Grimgor, but the change is that he can, through the battles, get the plans, and you can attach the plans to your armies, so they are just like conditional effects for the army, and the conditions are interesting for sure. For example, sometimes you need to have a specific units in the army, you need to have a specific building done, and so on and so on. And then you use plans, and for the set amount of duration, you get some bonuses. Some bonuses are strong, some are quite weak, being honest. And you can attach those plans to all the armies. And that's really it. That's what Gorbat is getting. And being honest, that was a big letdown for me, because as this plans mechanic itself, I think it's well done. It's overall well done. It needs small amount of tweakings. It needs way less tweaking than the Cloak of Skulls for the Skull Taker, but I would say it just feels like a free DLC, you know? Especially the lore that I will be talking about later on. This thing is making that, if I would, how to say it, I'm buying all the DLCs, so that's normal, yeah? But they are better Greenskins DLCs. Let's call it that way, yeah? Grom, especially DLC, and his mechanic with recipes is way more interesting, more interactable, and just better overall. So Gorbat is a very safe, very plain DLC as a mechanic, and the same thing goes for his units that are being added to the campaign, which is extremely strange, yeah? We are getting the Mangler Squigs. This is actually a unit that I would say that is cool, has a nice animation, does something. We have the Colossal Squig, a unit that itself looks very good, but plays very bad in a campaign. We have the Black Orcs with shields that you need to pay for, and it's just a reskin of Black Orcs with great weapons, and it's working more or less the same, being honest. We have the Arachnarok spiders that look ugly because they are blue. So those just Arachnarok but have projectiles, catapults on their back. We have the unit of Goblin Bolt Thrower. Terrible unit in my opinion, way worse than Goblin Rocklobber. They almost have no value in my campaign. So overall, the additions to the Greenskins were very strange in terms of units. None of the units were really interesting in a way. And also, in terms of the new heroes and lords, I would say one addition is good, the Savage Orc Shaman. So this is great addition for Bullseye because it's more thematic. But we didn't got any new Savage Orc units, which is strange. The Savage Orc are very low in amount of content that the faction have right now. We also have the new heroes. It's Goblin, Night Goblin Big Boss. Yet again, I would say it's very uninteresting hero. Doesn't add anything to the roster. And in terms of the faction reworks, I would say it's mostly like quality of life changes, which is good because, for example, scrap upgrades menu actually works and have a scroll. As you remember, it had a scroll in Warhammer 2, then in Warhammer 3 it didn't have, and all the mods that were adding more scraps than 2 on the screen were just not working at all, which is nice that they are fixing it. Shame it took 2 years. Technology 3, they just separated the scrap upgrades. They are just on own line at the bottom, and they are not embedded into the technology tree, and there are some small buffs here, but it's fine. Yeah, I would say Gorbat Ironclaw is a free legendary lord. He should be a free legendary lord. It's not the same value as you would paying for something. Yeah. As I said, plans is a good mechanic, but it feels like a very, very cheap mechanic, yeah? One thing that I would say is there is a new legendary hero that is focusing about the spiders for the Greenskin, and is actually good. I think it's the best legendary hero from all of the DLC one. I didn't talk about those in the Khorne because they are totally forgettable for me. They were, at least. But yeah, the Greenskin DLC, I would say it's a strange thing. It feels like a free DLC, and some of the content in the game for free are way better. So yes, thank you everyone for watching this review. That would be all. There were no more faction, no more content, so I was Venris and I'm out. Bye! Okay, I know, we need to talk about the ogres.
Gonna make a killing here.
The ogres also got a DLC. And for the first time, we had the DLC for a faction that was a DLC faction so fast. And Golfman is a new legendary lord for the ogres. And there is a lot to talk about here, being honest, because we have several things. First of all, ogres received a total rework as a faction, yeah, and Golfang is not only one that is getting new content, also the vanilla, let's say, legendary lords also had a new mechanics. In terms of the Golfang, we have something that is quite interesting. This is mercenary contracts. So makes that different factions gave you a contract, and those contracts means that they want enemy to be attacked. Other attack, yeah? So Druzina and Clave want to attack the Clan Molder. And you do battle, settlements, hero actions, raiding, and so on. If we accept the contract, we are in war at this faction, yeah? So against Clan Molder, and we need to, depending on what we do, battles, occupation, settlements, and so on, we get the points, client satisfaction. When the client satisfaction is on top, it's fully done, you can give the contract and you get a lot of rewards, and you can, which is interesting, stop war against this specific faction. Overall, mechanic is very simple, the simplest from all of the DLC, but I would say having the most substance in it, because you can really have fun with it and move around, be this good guy or bad guy, or just it feels like a mercenary, like a dog of war, being honest. But Gold Fang itself, as a DLC for me, I think it's not working. Yes, it adds some units that are fine. I would say. They are, nothing outstanding. There are Yetis that I like, because they are thematically, very good thematically. They are Thunder Tusk, very nice looking unit, but the rest of the units, like Vultures or Pig Riders, they are like, okay. The thing that is really good with the factions are the new lords. The new lords are really good, and I would say that we have the Paymaster, very good lord, and also the Bruiser hero, yet again very good additions to the roster, because they had problems with those on those fields, let's say, as a faction. But the biggest thing at all of this is that the ogres had a rework. They had a big rework. The contracts that they have, bounties, well, with rework with a free DLC, free content update after patch 5.0, which is good. They're just passive, cool missions, strong missions that you just do passively. You don't even accept them. They just are here. You do them. That's fine. Other things are that the camps had a lot of changes, especially from many mods that were on the workshop. So, for example, the camps can move right now. You can pack them, and they will be attached to the lords, and then you can just unpack them, let's call it. So normally you were recruiting, but then you had this specific camp that you just had, packed. The camps doesn't have upkeep anymore, like in many mods, as I said. They use food as a resource to build stuff, which is important. Also, the food is working using the blood host mechanic, the bloodletting, Old War, Beastman Rage, or I don't remember the name of it. So it was reused in many cases right now. And you have the food, but you can also give the food, transfer food to the camp, or vice versa, which is funny. Sorry, you cannot. The camps generate food for lords in the sphere around it, but you cannot go and send it back, let's call it. We also have a technology tree rework, hordes, tribes, yet again 2 tabs. I'm not a fan of that I need to screw. I like this is cut. But overall the technology tree is way better than it was. What else do we have? That's really it for the ogres, more or less. I would say the faction is way better. You can travel to the client, because by the way, he has a free teleportation, and Skulltaker also has a free teleportation. So almost every new DLC is getting free teleportation right now, which is a bad idea. I don't like the travel to the client thing. I think like a buff to movement or something would be better. So it can be very powerful. He can get a lot of gold. You see, I'm turn 3 and I got 23,000 gold right now, on this campaign, specifically on this save. So it's getting crazy. You can finish this campaign around the same turn as you did with the Skulltaker, so like 20-30 turns, and you have half of the world, so much money and things like that, which is not a good thing. But overall, I would say the ogre part is better than the Greenskins part. It doesn't work without the free additions, but it's not as good as a Khorne. I would call it that way. One thing that we also need to talk with the ogres is that their base legendary lords also got a new content. In terms of Khorne, the new content for the base legendary lords are almost minimal, because Scarbrand just got that the blood host are better armies. They spawn with more units, and that's it really. Greenskin, none of them get anything really. So in terms of the ogres, the Grecians got a mechanic from Calfrance that is actually reused for money. You can do several different actions to the armies or the provinces, and that's it really. And as for the Scrag, he just gets a better rewards in terms of a meat from the Offering of the Maw, because Offering of the Maw are looking more or less the same, and same goes with the names. So those things were not reworked. But that's really it for the ogres. As a whole, as a faction, they are way better to play right now, and not really thanks to the DLC, but the free update that I will be talking about right now. Okay, it's time to talk about the free additions of this DLC, because I was talking about a lot of patch 6.0, the stuff with the Khorne reworks and so on. But there's one big highlight of the DLC, not the DLC, but the patch that goes with the DLC for free, and it's Arbol the Undefeated. He's a new legendary lord for Khorne that is quite interesting. Because of the Khorne reworks, the Khorne can now focus on mortal units or demonic units, yes? And the thing is that Arbol is all about the mortal units, and his mechanic is about Challenges of Khorne. And Challenges of Khorne is a mechanic that is like almost absolutely rehashing the mechanic from Oxyotl. As you remember, Oxyotl was able to travel the world using his Sanctum resource, as I remember properly, and just teleport to the enemy, find them, and you can teleport back, and so on. So this is working exactly the same. You have battles around the world that you can travel to using this Khorne's favor. You can just teleport, you get more stuff from it, you get a lot of money. They are hard battles, they are easier battle and so on, but you can also spend this resource on some temporary boons, let's call them, yeah? And they have different faction-wide bonuses, and that's really it. You'll say, it's nothing big, but being honest, interacting with this mechanic was the funnest from whole DLC experience. In my opinion, this is better than Clock of Skulls, this is better than Plans, and this is better than Bounties Contracts. This is way better because it's very non-simple. It has some randomize, non-simple in the way that it has some RNG in it, so it can be different. You can mix and match those bonuses, and his starting position of Arbol really doesn't matter because he can just teleport somewhere and get back. Arbol really feels like Wulfric should feel in Warhammer 3, so I'm really interested what will be done to the faction of Norska when we actually get the rework someday. Also, one thing that is quite interesting overall is that Arbol the Undefeated, when he loses a battle, you have a dilemma and you can pick to lose a battle to end the campaign, or just he will be just Arbol, not the Undefeated, which is fun. Yeah, the bonus itself for taking out your title, it's not big a deal. It's like some Khorne diplomacy penalty, but the fact that you can just finish the campaign at this point is, I think it's a good idea. So overall, I would say Arbol as a faction, as a campaign, it's the best in the DLC, and it's for free, which is strange overall. That the best mechanic that was in the game is a free legendary lord. But overall, about patch 6.0, there's not much to talk about, being honest. The patch 5.0, so the one that was with the Thrones of Decay, was way more substantial and changing the game. So right now, if you would ask me if it's worth it to get back to Total War Warhammer because of the free additions, I would say yes, come back for Arbol, but no one else. Maybe Ogres if you really like them, yeah, if you're into them. But for the Greenskins, not much really, yeah. I would say the reworks are fine, but like the rest of the factions besides the DLC ones were actually not touched at all. They are just there, yeah, let's call it. I think it's time for some conclusions. Let's talk about the pros and cons about the whole package of a DLC and if I recommend it. So overall, I would say that Skulltaker, as I said, mechanics are good, very strong, but need to earn them, but they are also very unbalanced right now, yeah? As for the Gorband mechanics, it's good, but very shallow. Looking like a free addition to me, nothing more really. Golfang mechanic is very simple, way simpler than the Ogre rework itself, but if you really like the theme of it, you can have fun with it. So I think it's fine. As for Arbol, is the best in this package, but not package because it's free, so he's really, 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 really good. Yeah, and you can have a lot of fun. It's simple. It's a rehashing of Oxyotl, yet again very fun, and he's free. Khorne rework was good, but it's also very unbalanced. And I don't feel that it was ever tested really, because people found those cheese with the free blood holes like immediately. And I also I'm not the smartest player, but I found it around turn 20, 30, something like that. Yeah. Ogre changes overall very good. Kudos to them. I like the camps how they are and other additions. The faction is way better and thematically actually can end without any settlements. Like they should, yeah. They are nomadic faction, so I like how they did them. Greenskin changes are mostly UI improvements, which are good, and because Greenskin really didn't need that much more stuff. As for the things I really did not like in the DLC, I would say I don't like the fact there are no Realms of Chaos campaigns. Because in this campaign, this DLC, you cannot go with those legendary lords to the Chaos campaign. I like the narrative in the campaigns. I like when they had some story in them. There's sadly nothing here. I understand that the Realms of Chaos is a campaign that they abandoned, but at least adding those factions there so we can play on smaller campaign maps would be cool, because being honest, in Warhammer 2, I always like to play Vortex way more than Immortal Empires. I like the packed, smaller experiences, but yet again, I would say it's a con because we don't have something that was addition in the previous DLC just like that, yeah. As for patch 6.0, there are really no big changes to the game, so if you don't go with the DLC factions, there is really no need to revisit the game at this point if you don't focusing on those DLC factions at all, because the rest of the factions really didn't get anything. We didn't have anything like the Nemesis Crown that really can change stuff in the campaign, so yeah, it's there, yeah. So overall, I would say also in terms of the units, they're quite plain. None of the units really stand out for me. None of the units really change how we play the roster. Maybe the Ogre addition were actually interesting and helping as a faction. I'm not playing Ogres that much, so I cannot say, but from my perspective and testing, I would say that the units are the most impactful, and I would say that overall the DLC was very safe. The DLC overall was very safe, to the point of being boring, in my opinion. Yeah, Greenskins were overall extremely strange choice for the DLC. They really didn't need the content. I think adding Norska here in terms of instead of the Greenskin would be way better chance, because this faction really needed help, more units, more heroes, especially because they heroes and lords, because they still have one generic lord in the vanilla. They really need help. Yeah. Other thing that I didn't like is that the DLC content yet again is way better than the vanilla Legendary Lords base content. So as I said, Scarbrand is vastly weaker than the Skulltaker and Arbal in terms of the campaign mechanics. All the Greenskin Lords are weaker than Gorband and Grom the Punch, but it's 4 years now. And the last thing I would say, that the DLC is overpriced again. I was saying the same thing with the Shadows of Change, especially before they added any additions, and then Thrones of Decay. But I need to revoke one of my statements there. I would say, if you compare this DLC to the Thrones of Decay is way better content. For content that you are paying. I'm not talking about the free additions, but the content that you are paying for in Thrones of Decay was way better than this. This DLC feels like a DLC between good DLCs again. Something that I'm overall really confused by, because like I said that in the Thrones of Decay DLC review of mine, that Thrones of Decay set the bar very high. And this DLC doesn't fulfill it. It doesn't go near this bar. Yeah, it's a very safe DLC. If you really like those factions, you should take them. Take this DLC, because you will have some fun. But probably I will go back to Arbol for at least once. but both Golfang and Skulltaker, I won't get back to those factions, to those campaigns. There were like one-time playthrough from me, which was fine, but that's really it. But that was my opinion about the DLC, and I ask, what do you think about the DLC? Yeah, especially the SFO mod patrons. So let's hear it out. Sephirex said, I think it's the first DLC since the very beginning that I didn't count the dice to release or buy on launch. I didn't even know if it was out until Steam advertised it. Not dishing the DLC, but it feels so long between good content drop, it's hard to stay engaged. And I totally agree with it. If we look on the Steam charts, the last DLC, The Thrones of Decay, had 74,000 concurrent players peak. Yeah, normally the average is from 34, 21, is depending on the time. Omens of Destruction had 48,000 peaks, so almost half of the Thrones of Decay, and you can see the less interest with the DLC. And I have to say that I also was way less interested in this DLC. Gabe Sky says, same cycle that she always does. Good, meh, bad, community outrage, good. We are at meh with the last DLC being Thrones of Decay of nearly 9 months ago. So Gabe is saying that the next one should be bad, and then we have community outrage, yeah? We got some small bugs with the, maybe not small, with this DLC, that the AoE area damage for monsters and cavalry was not working, but only a few days they made a hotfix, so I'm not counting this as something bad, really, yeah? Ashiraya saying, I think CA is relying too much on power creep nowadays. Not saying that we weren't busted lords before, but it feels like CA is slotting in crazy mechanics like free teleportation and massive money just to make more sales. Maybe because players demand crazy mechanics. I totally agree with it. And Ashira is pointing to the thing that I think that the new DLC mechanics are very similar to each other, like teleporting, focusing on the enemy legendary lords, and so of course the game is gigantic, so it's hard to make new mechanics, new good ideas, but the power creep is really going crazy. The campaigns overall are going very slow, which Protean is saying in his review. They need to dial down on the whole power fantasy thing. It seems like they are heading towards the direction of the actual campaign ends by turn 40, where after that you just steamroll the whole map painting color in RNG. Auto-resolve. I totally agree with this, and I remember my impression of the Warden and the Punch DLC back in Warhammer 2, one of the best DLC, in my opinion, in the whole cycle of Total War Warhammer. But the big problem with this DLC was that the mechanics were so overpowered that you were finishing campaign very fast. Taurox, if you remember, on Warhammer 2. And since then, we only have this bigger and bigger power creep with not dialing down some of the mechanics to the point to have actual challenge or more fun, for longer fun, yeah? Village is saying, DLC is a mixed bag of good fun and medicore with a hefty sprinkle on broken. Skulltaker is very broken, but was and still is a lot of fun once they fixed the things that were clearly intended to only affect his army, and not everything else, as well as nerfing the immortal Bloodhost spam. Goldbank's mechanics is simple but interesting. Gorbat feels too much like a free legendary lord, as I said, while Arbol was fantastic with his campaign being the most fun I've had since Total Warhammer 3 launched. Yet again, the thing that I was saying, I totally agree with it. So those would be the highlights, but also there are other great reviews by SFO community members, and I will be posting them right here. You can just stop the video and check them. I really think they are worth checking out because the intel of them, let's say, and how people are approaching some stuff is very interesting. So thank you guys for posting those stuff. Sorry that I didn't read those, but the video would be like 15 minutes only reading the reviews. That was all really for this very long review of Omens of Destruction. If this DLC is for you, as I said, it's not for me to judge. I think it's a bit overpriced. It's a mixed bag, same as the Steam reviews are saying right now. Thrones of Decay was better. this DLC for sure is better than Shadows of Change, but it's somewhere between, yes? So, yeah, thank you for watching this video. Remember to feed the YouTube algorithm with your comment, thumbs up, and if you really like the SFO content, we have a Patreon where you can directly support our free content, so I can make more videos like that, and also working on new SFO update right now. The daily news can be saw on our Twitter posts, and also even more common daily, uncommon I would say, are for our patrons with the polls and the signing about the content that we are working on right now. So yet again, thank you everyone, and please in the comment tell me what do you think about the DLC. Are you going to buy it, or you already bought, how much fun you had or not? And yes, I was Venris and I'm out, and thank you everyone, have a lovely day.